Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for tonight. If we can start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. In the event of a fire or other emergency, please follow all exit signs that are provided in this room and throughout Town Hall. Upon exiting the room, main exits are located to the front and rear of the building. Please do not use the elevator during an emergency event. This meeting is being recorded and will stream live online. Please silence your phones. When you do come up to the podium to speak, make sure that you state your name and address for the record and also sign in at the podium. Our next meeting will be December 19th in this building at 6:30. We will start with a calling of the roll.
Chairwoman Nichols.
Present.
Member Schubert. Member Phillips. Member Bray. Member Parker.
In addition, we also have the zoning enforcement officer, Dan Ulatowski, and Nora Robshaw from the town attorney's office present with us. Do we have a motion with respect to last month's minutes? Move to approve. Any opposition? No opposition, so that motion carries 5-0. We do have on the agenda tonight 11 items. We are going to go in order with 3 exceptions. First and foremost, I am going to ask if anyone would have any opposition from the board to adjourning items 10 and 11. That item 10 is 1138 Millersport Highway. Item 11 is 600 and 6040 North Bailey Avenue. The petitioner has requested an adjournment. Any opposition? Okay. Someone seconded that adjournment request, I'm sure. Okay, so those items will be adjourned. We also have on our agenda item number 8, 4831 Harlem Road. I believe that there is someone here from the neighborhood, but the petitioner is not present today and I believe has requested an adjournment by email today. So I would move to adjourn. Do we have any opposition? Second. No opposition. Was anyone else here from the audience to speak on that? I'm sorry. No, it doesn't look like it. So item number 8 is going to be adjourned. So you're all set for today. And then we will get back to the regularly scheduled program and move to number 1 on the agenda, which is 966 Sweet Home Road.
Good evening. My name is Bill Richter. I'm president of the North Bailey Fire Company, and I reside at 23 Willow Green Drive in Amherst. North Bailey Fire Company is on a very unique parcel, as you can see, and what we are trying to do is take our building generator and move it outside of the building. We have a 1972 generator actually inside of our apparatus truck room currently, and it ran for about 8 or 9 days during the October storm, and it is on its last legs. So our generator will be moving to the outside of the building, which is currently where our dumpster is. And as you can see, there's a parcel to the west of that we also own. It is a residential home that we rent out for income. And then the other addition that we're going to be doing is a shed down in the west portion of that corner of the empty vacant lot that we also own. And we will be moving excuse me, our dumpster to the old shed location and building a new shed because we are running out of storage. And if you can't tell, our building can't be expanded. We can't do anything else with it due to the size of our parcel and the odd shape of it between Sweet Home and Homecrest.
Okay.
So I'm here for questions.
Does anyone have questions?
I have to just ask a quick question.
Sure.
If you were to put in a new generator, could you actually put it in the building under the code today?
Not that I'm aware of, no. The new one's 125 kilowatt natural gas. The original one is only a 30 kilowatt and it only does part of the building. We need, obviously, to be able to do the entire building, charge the trucks, run the building as it is. In addition to that, the location that we picked is close to the natural gas inlet, as well as all of our electrical rooms, our electrical panels, and the utility room. That's the best location that we can have, where it's out of sight, out of mind. The general public doesn't have to look at it, and we plan to screen it with removable fence panels. So if we ever have to do maintenance on it, we can remove the panels.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Is that landscaping, or is it like a tree right there where it's next to the?
Those are
new
trees.
shed?
So actually two of our members, their mother owned the house there. When she passed away, she wanted the fire company to buy it in case we ever needed to expand. So we did, but we left the trees. We took the house down because it was uninhabitable. And those are existing trees right now, and the plan is to get rid of the one, actually, because it does have some widowmakers and things up top that we want to get rid of before anything else.
Okay, and is there a fence or anything between that and that parcel that says zoning R3 right there?
There is no fence. That is one of our members, and he would be here in support, but he had a double lung transplant
Okay.
two months ago. He's in Pittsburgh. And there is a fence between 417 Homecrest, which is on the north side of that, and our goal would be to actually put a fence along the back as well, but we wanted to wait until we could get permission to do the shed first.
Okay, so there was no opposition from the person who lives the
No,
closest there
no.
to that?
He's one of our members.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, anyone here from the audience to speak on this petition? Okay, it looks like no one's here, so we'll close the public hearing at this time. Do we have any discussion or motions from the board?
Move for approval.
Is that for both requests?
Both, yes.
Okay, Ron, Kelly's seconding. Do we have any opposition? No opposition, so both requests are granted 5-0.
Thank you
You're all
all
set.
for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next on the agenda is item number 2, 283 Rosedale Boulevard.
Hello, my name's Mary Applegate. I live at 283 Rosedale Boulevard. I've got a driveway that's 10 feet wide, and it's fine for one car. But my daughter lives with me, and my granddaughter now is 19, and it's just too narrow. So I had Capozzi come out, and he said, he's the one that taught me that my house is 30 feet wide, so I can go 15 feet. And I kind of guess I misunderstood. And when they came and painted the lines and they came to dig it, I said, wait a minute, I can't get a second car by my car. And so what I'm asking is, can we do 9 foot? I think the cement there goes at least, I think, 5 feet. So he would take out a couple of bushes, and then he'd just angle it down so that, like this morning, it was cold, and my daughter's walking out. She goes, "Oh, you got to move your car." So I'm in my pajamas. I got to go and move the car, and I'm tired of it now that I'm retired, you know. And so basically that's my request. And then I'll make it look pretty, because all I picture are 2 Adirondack chairs and some planters. And that's what I'd like to do.
Okay.
And the other reason, the main reason was because the driveway looks bad. It looks bad at the bottom, it's crumbling. I wanted to do it so it would look nice. But I told Capozzi, I'm not gonna do it just to look nice. I won't do it at all unless I can make it a little bit wider to just get another car in, you know? So, that's it.
Okay. Does anyone have questions?
So the current runway is 10 feet wide, if you want to add how much?
It was right up there. I think we wanted to add, can you just find my paperwork?
5 feet.
Add 9 feet. And not from the sidewalk out, we're gonna leave that alone, we're just make it new. But just kind of angle it so I can just pull a car right next to my car.
Okay, so are you adding 9 feet or 10 feet? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
So it would be add 9.
but not the entire length, because we'll have it taped off.
Yeah, not the entire length. No,
Okay.
no.
Does that change what we have in our packet?
Yes. Well, it looks like it's 1 foot on the other side in the packets.
Oh, yeah, we were thinking that, because that's where my garbage cans are, that if I could go another 1 foot there, but you know what, I can do bricks, and bricks would look, maybe prettier, actually.
Okay, so we're lowering the request then from the initial. Right.
So if you're willing to give me that foot, I'll take it, but I could
So,
do,
the only problem with changing it right at this very moment is we don't know the exact square footage then of your request. Because it's not, you're not asking us to add, a foot each way or 9 feet each way. It's a specific amount of
and
square
I
feet.
thought we did all that.
So
Is
it's,
that the only picture?
if,
Do we have to, though?
I mean, is anyone's vote going to change on the foot?
Sorry, you can entertain the request as it is now, or you can adjourn, and I will work with the petitioner to come up with the exact number for what she's seeking.
okay, so I would suggest maybe we could say no more than what her request is. And then if it's less, it's less. Is everyone good with that?
in-
Okay. Well, let's see first, is anyone here from the audience to speak on this?
Good idea.
I just have a quick question. So it's going to stay 13 feet at the road, go to the sidewalk where it's 10 feet, and then expand out from there?
Yeah.
Okay, is anyone here from the audience to speak on this? Looks like no one. So we'll close the public hearing at this time. We'll continue our discussion and see if there's any motions.
I just have a question. The applicant is asking for 510 square feet in total, but in actuality, it's going to be less?
It sounds like it'll be less,
So
but
we
we
can,
don't know
so we can
exactly.
approve the 510 and then?
Yes, up
do
to
it.
510.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that your motion, Ron?
I would approve it the way it's written.
Okay.
Yes, that's my motion.
Well, how much are you approving?
What your original ask was. Because you're changing it, but you're making it less, so that's fine, is, we're giving you like a
So-
ceiling.
The 9 feet?
10 feet.
So,
9. I can go to 9.
Mr. Boyd, do you want to?
yeah, so,
One side and the 1 foot where you were talking about the pavement.
Yes.
So
yes,
Wait, let's let
change
Ms.
it and you're within it.
Maybe we can let Mr. Voigt explain it, because I
Yeah,
think he
what-
was working with the petitioner. No,
If-
It's okay.
if the board grants the petition as is at what we calculated as 510 square feet, you can deviate from that, you just cannot exceed it. So if when we talked originally, you had mentioned the 10 feet, which is how we got to the calculation we did. If you now want to do 9 feet in a different configuration, if that amount of square footage is under 510, you'll be permitted to do that.
You're going to put that in writing for Kaposi, right?
Yes.
So we do it right.
Okay. So we should probably talk a little bit about the test, just because the
Yes.
petition's a little bare.
The neighbors will be so happy not having to see me in my pajamas anymore.
So Ron, do you want to run through that since it's
Sure.
your request?
Yep.
Did someone second this, by the way? I will.
Let me find the test.
I'll second Ron's motion.
Okay, let me just find it. Give me a minute. Oh, thank you. Okay, first, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the area variance. No. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than in the area variance. No. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. No. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. No. And whether it was self-created. Yes, but that's not enough to defeat this motion. But does that also include the ghost that's in the picture?
Pardon me?
There's a ghost in the picture? No, I'm sorry. That's
Do we have any opposition to the motion? No? Okay, your request is granted 5-0.
And then you'll send that to me?
Yes, you're all set.
Thank you so much.
All right. I don't know. Yeah, kind of, it is a ghost. All right, next up on the agenda is item number 3, 46 Hallmark Court.
Hello, my name is Keith Zahner. I'm representing Gary and Carol Moose tonight. They cannot be here because Gary Moose had a cornea replacement surgery. I'm his son-in-law. So we are looking to the existing deck that is originally 14 by 17. They want to do an addition that will be 12 by 17. And the main reason they want to do it is they are updating this entire house. They're looking to add more light and brighten it up with this addition in the back right corner of the southeast part of the house. So, I know this was originally, I know, talking to the building department, I know the 30-foot code and everything. It was the builder's house. The deck, I know it doesn't conform to the 30 feet, but it would actually be smaller than that from what is there now. So,
Okay. Is there anyone that lives behind them?
yes, I actually have, when I submitted the variance application, I had letters from 11 of the neighbors. I went to the neighborhood, told them exactly what we're doing, and asked them what they thought. There's actually the neighbors that are right next door here that I didn't realize, so.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll wait and hear from those who are here. So does anyone else have questions for the applicant at this point? No? Okay.
The existing deck goes 14 feet off the house to the back right corner, and then 17 feet to the front of the house.
So it will be
It will be smaller, yes.
Okay. If no one else on the board has a question at this point, we'll open and see if anyone is here from the audience to speak on this petition. You can come forward. Neighbors, are you here? We support it. Oh, okay. Is anyone else here? No? So, yeah, we do need you just to sign your name in. Just sign your name at the podium and say your name and address for us for the record.
My name is Dr. Diane Wunsch, and I live at 55 Hallmark Court, and I live right next door to where Keith's in-laws are going to be, and we're happy to have the addition because it's going to look beautiful.
Okay? Thank you so much. Okay. We will close the public hearing then at this time. And do we have any questions or motions from the board?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any opposition? Okay, hearing none, the motion is granted 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, neighbors, for coming. All right, next up on the agenda we have is 131 Nicole Court.
Good evening. I'm Fred Geis. I live at 131 Nicole Court, East Amherst, New York. I'm interested in installing a standby generator at my home, which will require a 1.87-foot setback from my south property line. And I understand the requirement is 5 feet, so we're looking at 1.87 feet. It's fairly straightforward. It's unobtrusive. It's been approved by our HOA, obviously subject to approval by this group. And that's about all I have.
Okay. And do you know if your neighbor next to where that generator is going to be is okay with that?
She actually gave me the information to install the generator by the contractor that she was already, so, yes, she has one already, and it's on the other side of her house. so.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
This is a standby generator,
Yes, ma'am.
so it wouldn't be operating except in emergency times.
Emergency times, yeah. Once a week, it goes on as a self-test for 10 minutes.
Okay. Is anyone here from the audience to speak on this petition? No one looks like they're coming forward, so we'll close the public hearing at this time. Do we have any motions with respect to this request?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have any opposition? Hearing none, that's granted 5-0.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
all set.
Appreciate it.
All right, next up, we have number 5 on the agenda, which is 39 Costin Road.
Please excuse me, I've done 3, this will be number 3 presentation I've done today, so my voice is pretty shot. My name is Tashawn Williams, and I live at 39 Costin Road, but I've lived in that neighborhood for close to 30 years now. My desire is to build a garage. It's going to be roughly about 200 square more than what I'm allowed to build. When I purchased the property, I checked with the building department on what I could build. And I said, that's perfect, that'll put my cars in. But I did not calculate that in order to put my cars in, they would not have to have mirrors and I would not be able to open the doors to get out of the car. So we have to do slightly larger and a touch deeper. I know both neighbors I've already spoken to, they didn't care. In fact, the one neighbor behind me, he's already done the same thing on his property with a garage. Alternatives, there weren't really anywhere else to put it. I even looked at like buying other sites and building, but that would be almost as much as buying another house, and that's just not logical. I mean, so
Okay.
go ahead with questions.
So do you already have an attached garage there?
I have a one-car attached garage where literally, if you pull a car in, you have a tiny bit to walk in front of the car between the door, and you have enough to just get the door open to get out on one side of the car.
So how will you get cars into that back
We will
garage?
cut a hole through the garage and make it a drive-through. I have a friend who did it in Tonawanda, and he gave me the plans for that.
Okay. So if necessary, emergency vehicles could get through to
Almost
there?
definitely, yes.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? Yes, no? Okay. Is anyone here from the audience to speak on this petition? Doesn't look like anyone's coming forward, so we'll close the public hearing at this time. Do we have any motions? I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Does anyone have any opposition? No? Okay, you're all set, 5-0.
I'll just hear something in the mail then? All right, thank you.
Yes. All right. Next up is item number 6, which is 106 LeBrun Circle. I do not see the petitioner in the room. They did not show the last time either.
They adjourned last time.
They adjourned?
They adjourned.
Okay. So I can move to adjourn if that makes sense. Ron seconds. Does anyone disagree with that? No, so we will adjourn 5-0. Next up is number 7 on the agenda, 5195 Main Street.
The gentleman left this, maybe?
Oh,
The last presenter?
oh no.
Good afternoon, good evening, rather. My name is Tom Fox with Ellicott Development Company. On behalf of 5000 Group LLC, here requesting an area variance under zoning ordinance on the last slide there for clear vision triangle at the intersection of Forest Road and Main Street. You can see the site here, the Mosey 5195 Main Street, looking southeast in this area, with the area in question, right where the star is located there, right at the corner, would be the northwest corner of the property. Next slide, please. So we have a couple issues. We're I've gone through 3 tenants for the restaurant space here currently, and we're going to welcome our 4th tenant, which we're excited about in the spring, or not spring, but after the first of the year, with Steelbound Brewery and Distillery at this location. When the project was initially approved, there was the setback provided on the first floor at the corner to provide a clear vision triangle across that space, and the resulting space was converted or created a patio space for the corner tenant for the restaurant space here. So that space as it is, and I think this photograph well illustrates that, has really hindered that restaurant tenancy in a number of ways over the few tenants we've had. The patio does not get well utilized because of its exposure to the elements at the intersection and the busy Main Street traffic. The exposure to road noise and fumes and the wind that whips through that space is very unpleasant and affects the patron experience. So it does not get a lot of use out there. Furthermore, and you can see this, from this view here, looking at past the corner into the covered first floor, the windows that are in shadow there, it really limits the ability to a good visual from the outside for passersby of the interior space of that activity and atmosphere that could be happening in the restaurant, and its ability to maybe draw in additional business to that space. The existing masonry wall that you see there in the foreground, just past the sidewalk, is on the property line. It's 2'6" in height. Masonry wall sits right on the bedrock. So what we're proposing to do is enclose the existing patio space above that masonry wall, a single-story glazed addition, highly transparent. And what that'll do is allow us year-round seating, an extension of the interior space, and a heavily glazed, heavily transparent space that'll help kind of solve the problem of the lack of transparency and visual into that space to maybe draw in some activity from passersby. Next slide, please. Couple illustrations, this and the next slide, in terms of what's proposed. We have in plan view on the left-hand side here, highlighted in yellow. That's the current partially covered patio space on the left. And then there's 3 colored, I've colored the elevation tags there, which are illustrated on the right-hand side of the drawing. The primary elevation in blue there, the upper left elevation, which faces Main Street, and the other secondary elevation, which would be on Forest, which is the bottom elevation. You're looking at the straight-on Forest elevation on the right-hand side of that bottom elevation, and then the elevation that tapers down Main Street from that, down the Main Street angle on that elevation as well. So what you can see here and what this illustrates, I guess, is the heavy level of transparency. It'll be all clear vision glass in these areas highlighted yellow. Very limited vertical obstructions with the columns. We've made them very tight in width to carry that roof structure. And I may have mentioned this already, but that existing masonry wall that is there, it does rest on the bedrock. So no, we've reviewed that with a structural engineer. No structural modifications required to carry this roof structure, the snow load, and everything else that would come with it. So next slide, please. And this is just a sketch of what I showed in the previous slide. Again, the yellow areas would be the areas of clear vision glass over the existing masonry wall on the left. The area on the right is an infilled existing opening there on Forest. And then you can see in the charcoal coloring there the proposed structure, the roof structure, and the vertical columns that would come down and carry the weight of that roof. Next slide, please. So we're requesting an area variance from zoning ordinance 203-2-5-1 for a clear vision triangle at the intersection. As I mentioned, the requested area variance would benefit us, the applicant, by allowing the restaurant tenancy an improved space, a more usable space, an extension of the interior space, replacing the seasonal outdoor condition that we have there today, and also, as I illustrated, presenting better what the interior atmosphere and environment could be of that restaurant with this nice, highly glazed new envelope that would surround that space, that patio space, which would now be interior dining space. So in response to the 5 criteria in the balancing test for consideration of this board and the requested variance, just go through those quickly. Number 1, the requested area variance will not create undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, nor will it result in a detriment to nearby properties. Number 2, The benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other feasible method. Number 3, the requested area variance is not substantial in nature and will not result in any harm to the community. We did include with the application a sightline evaluation prepared by traffic engineer Passero Associates, dated September 29th, 2023. In that report, according to the New York State DOT's Highway Design Manual, the HDM, the added enclosure will have no significant adverse impact on vehicular activity at the intersection of Main and Forest. And furthermore, the report goes on to note that according to the HDM's reference for intersection sight distance, a signalized intersection such as this at Main and Forest generally does not require sight triangles, and they've illustrated that in the report. Number 4 of the criteria, the proposed variance will not have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district as demonstrated in the submitted short environmental assessment form in the application. And then finally, the alleged difficulty is self-created, but however, this condition cannot be utilized as a sole criterion determining whether to grant a requested area variance. And I think the other 4 criteria, as just mentioned, for the balancing test justify granting the requested relief here. And I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Before we get started, I will be recusing myself from consideration of this petition. I do have active representation, not a 5,000 group, but 1290 group, which is an associated entity.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have questions?
I have some questions. This Passero group, or this Passero report, is there, I'd like to hear from Passero directly before even considering this. This, just on the side of it, looks like you're making this intersection significantly more dangerous. I have little faith that the sight lines will maintain clear once the glass is up. So I feel extremely uncomfortable about moving forward on this, especially before we hear, I want to hear directly from Passero on the factors that went into this report.
Along those lines, I was going to ask Mr. Ulatowski if our Traffic and Safety Board would have occasion to review this.
We did not make a referral to them. We did advise the petitioner to consult with a traffic engineer. We routinely see reports from Passero. They're very well recognized, and we generally trust their professional recommendation. But with all due respect, it's your decision, and if you would like Passero to be here in person and provide their qualifications for their written report, that's this board's pleasure.
I would like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think what, just to elaborate on their note, and obviously we'll go through that process to get Passero here to talk to the board directly, but I think what they're trying to note in that report is with the signalized intersection, as long as the visual is still established or not impeded, rather, from the right-hand side heading north and the, what would be the westbound drive lane on Main Street at the signal, that's where there's, that's where they're referencing the lack of need for a full sightline triangle at a signalized intersection. That's what they're saying, because it is a stopped, four-way stop, that because we maintain that visual. And understand your concern, certainly, we've produced an area with full glazing and as much as we could to maintain the existing sightline triangle. And we'll hear more from Passero, but I think that's really, as they illustrated in the report, that's the point that they were trying to drive home, was that having that visual through the the area currently, the covered patio, under New York State DOT requirements, is not essentially required because it is a signalized intersection.
Okay, so I'm hearing from Mr. Bray, maybe he would like to move to adjourn.
That would be my preference.
I will second that. I agree. I think that because we're talking about a very busy corner, it would be prudent of us as a board to hear maybe directly from them at the next meeting. So I will second that. Does anyone have any opposition to the adjournment? Okay, so we will adjourn this one. Hopefully you'll have someone come with you on the next time to answer more questions.
Absolutely.
And that is granted 5-0 to adjourn.
4-0.
4-0, I'm sorry. For the record, Member Phillips has recused.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, item number 8 was adjourned. That leaves us with number 9, 1720, 1740, 1760 Maple Road.
Good evening, Chairperson Nichols and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, PB Investors LLC, care of Paul Bliss. As you'll recall, I presented this project to you during your meeting last month. Ultimately, after you granted the requested area variances, we did receive site plan approval from the Planning Board. And unfortunately, but not a big deal, one additional variance, which I think is relatively minor, was identified. We all know the project site. I'm going to walk through these pretty quick. Next slide. Project is exactly the same, 2 mixed-use buildings, one parallel and one perpendicular to Maple Road, townhomes on the back. And the most important label on this particular plan is that label that says Core Street with parallel parking. And what's important is, as you know, there's an urgent care, pediatric urgent care located at 1800 Maple Road. That includes a driveway that leads out to Air Road. We are lining that up with that existing driveway. Triggers the need for what I view as a relatively minor variance. Next slide. Next slide. I think we've gone through that. Next slide. Next slide. So what is the actual variance we're asking for? And you can see I've highlighted that Core Street with parallel parking. Per section 5A53B of the zoning code, which is the mixed use standards, the requirement for what's known as a core half street is the maximum that it can be from the principal street, which is Maple Road, is 200 feet. In this instance, we're lining it up with that driveway, which is at a distance of 214 feet. So it's a variance for 14 feet from the otherwise code requirement of 200 feet. We think it's quite clear that the benefits outweigh the detriments. Again, this layout has been in process for more than 2 years and reflects a ton of input. We do think we've also addressed the 5 criteria set forth in New York State Town Law, Section 267B3B. Specifically, the granting the requested relief will not result in an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. 2, there are no feasible alternatives that would allow us to avoid the need for the requested relief. 3, it's certainly not substantial in the context of whether any harm will result. 4, there have been multiple environmental reviews, including both the Planning Board and Town Board issuing negative declarations. And then finally, whether or not it's self-created, that could be debated given that we're lining it up with that existing driveway connection to Air Road. But nonetheless, that criteria is not determinative. So respectfully, we would ask, based on the balancing test and the 5 criteria, that you grant the additional area variance, and then we'll be concluded with the discretionary review process for the mixed-use project. Thank you. And of course, I would welcome the opportunity to answer any questions any of you may have.
Any questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The purpose of this is because you want to match that back road from the urgent care.
That's correct. And the purpose of the code requirement, I'll let Dan or Tom chime in, is part of the goal or planning objectives of these mixed-use districts is to create what is called blocks. And I think 200 feet is the maximum we want. But yeah, to line it up, if that driveway on Air Road, connecting to Air Road wasn't there, obviously we could have designed this so it would be a maximum of 200 feet. I do want to note also we're doing some of the things that are encouraged by the mixed-use districts, which are new. We're providing some parallel parking, sidewalks on both sides. So I think that core street that'll bisect the site will actually be pretty cool. And again, the planning department's played an integral role in providing input on this project. So we do thank them for that.
Ron?
Yeah, I just, maybe it's just the way this is drawn, because in the packet, it's different than up on the board. On the board, it looks like the core street is running right through the parking spaces, but in fact, maybe it's just the way
That's
it's
just
drawn.
me highlighting a box,
Yeah, it
Mr.
wasn't-
Schubert.
yeah,
but
the way it's highlighted, it looks like you're running through the parking spaces, but you're not. Actually, in here, it shows that you're actually
Yeah,
lining
the
up.
211 feet is, 214 feet is actually the southernmost point of the actual paved portion of the core street or access way across 1800 Maple Road. It doesn't include the parking.
So it does line. does line up.
It does line up.
Just your highlighting didn't.
Yeah, the problem is that plan is not square.
Got it.
Okay, any other questions? No? Do we have anyone from the audience to speak on this? No. We'll close the public hearing. I'll move to approve. Do we have any? Second. Second, any opposition? Nope, passes 5-0.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn? Okay, no opposition. Okay, that was a nice quick one.